Right on. Okay, so we got Psalms 59, and then we're going to read 1 Samuel 21 through 24. Okay, Psalm 59. Let's see here. Get one page over. To the chief musician, Altinchith Meacham of David, when Saul sent and watched the house to kill him. Okay, so here's where we're at in the saga. Saul is after David. They send people to his house to get him, and he runs, and he's where we left off is he was with Samuel. Okay, so David was Samuel, and the bad guys can't get him. Psalm 59, deliver me from my enemies, O God, defend me from them that rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity, the workers of sin, and save me from bloody men. For lo, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me, not for my transgression, nor for my sin, O Jehovah. They run and prepare themselves without my fault. Awake to help me, and behold, thou therefore, O Jehovah, God of hosts, God of Israel, awake to visit the heathen. Be not merciful to the wicked transgressors. Selah. They return at evening. They make a noise like a dog. They go round about the city. Behold, they belch out with their mouths. Their swords are in their lips. For who, say, they doth hear? But thou, O Jehovah, thou shalt laugh at them. Thou shalt have all the heathen in derision. Because of his strength I will wait upon thee, for God is my defense. The God of mercy shall prevent me. The God shall let me see my desire upon my enemies. Slay them not, lest my people forget. Scatter them by the power, and bring them down, O Jehovah, our shield. For the sin of their mouth and their words and their lips, let them even be taken in their pride. And for cursing and lying which they speak, consume them in wrath, consume them, that they may not be. And let them know that God ruleth in Jacob unto the ends of the earth. Selah. And at evening let them return, and let them make noise like a dog, and go round about the city. Let them wander up and down for meat, and grudge, if not be satisfied. But I will sing thy power, yea, I will sing aloud the mercy in the morning, for thou hast been my defense and my refuge in the day of my trouble. Unto thee, O my strength, I will sing, for God is my defense and God is my mercy. So, they're after David. He has the chief musician put together a psalm. This is 1 Samuel 21, verse 1. Then came David to Nob and Amalek, and the priest, and Amalek said he was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Amalek the priest, The king hath commanded me business, and he hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such a place. Now therefore, what is under thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread. If the young man have, listen here, listen. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said of him, Of the truth, women have been kept from us. About 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in the manner common, yea, through it were sanctified this day in his vessel. This is Matthew 12, folks. Why was David able to eat the showbread? Or why could Yeshua's disciples walk through the field and pluck some corn and eat it? So the priest answered him, the hallowed bread, for there was no bread but the showbread, but it was taken before Jehovah to put the hot bread in the day when it was taken. Now a certain man, the servants of Saul, was there, and that day detained before Jehovah, and his name was Doeg, the Edomite, and the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul. So he was able to eat the showbread. Okay, this is the key of David. You'll find that when they talk about the Church of Philadelphia in Revelations. They have the key of David. When would the enemy attack Israel? The enemy would attack Israel on the Sabbath day. So soldiers, in order to be able to fight, would know not their wives for 3 days before the Sabbath day, so that on the Sabbath day they would be pure and able to defend the city. Okay? So, when the Bible talks about the 144,000 being virgins, it's a spiritual virgin. Okay? These are people that are able to defend the city because they are holy. And David said unto Amalek, there is not here but under thy hand or the spear or the sword. I have neither brought my sword nor my weapons with me, but because the king's business requires haste. And the priest said, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah, behold, it is here, wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If thou wilt take that, take it. And there is no other, save it that here. And David said, there is none like that. Give it to me. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And his servants of Achish said unto him, is not this David the king of the land, that they did not sing to one another of him, and dance and sang, and Saul hath slain his thousands, and David slain his 10,000s? And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of Achish the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard. And Achish said unto his servants, lo, you see the man is mad. Therefore then we have brought him to me. Have I need of a madman? That ye have brought this fellow to play a madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? David therefore departed hence, and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And when his brethren and all his fathers heard of it, they went down to hither to him. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, and every one that was discounted, gathered themselves unto him, and became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. And David went hence to Mizpah of Moab. And he said unto the king of Moab, let my father and my mother, and I pray thee, come forth and be with you, till I know that God will do for me. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad said unto David, abide not in the hold, depart and get thee into the land of Judah. And when David departed and came into the forest of Havrath, and Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men were with him. Now Saul abode in Gilboa, under the tree in Ramel, having his spear in his hand, and his servants were standing about him. Then Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, hear now, ye Benjamites, and the son of Jesse, I will give every one of you the fields and the vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, that you all have conspired against me. There is none that showeth me, and my son hath made league with the son of Jesse. There is none of you that is sorry for me, or showeth unto me that my son had stirred up my servant against me, to lie in wait as this day. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, and to Amalek, the son of Atabab, and inquired of Jehovah for him, and gave him the victuals, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Then the king sent to Amalek the priest, the son of Ahab, and to his father's house, and the priests that were in Nob. And they all came, all of the men, to the king. And Saul said, Hear now, the son of Ahab, Athiabub. That he answered, and he said, I am Jehovah. Here I am. He said, Here I am, my Lord. So this guy's going to talk to Saul, and he's there. And Saul said unto him, Why have you conspired against me, and the son of Jesse, and thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me and lie in wait this day? Then Amalek answered the king and said, And who is so faithful among all thy servants as David, which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at his bidding, and is honorable in thy house? Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor all of his house of my father. For thy servant knew nothing at all of this, less or more. And the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Amalek, thou shalt, and all thy father's house. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priests of Jehovah, because their hand is also with David, and because they knew that when he fled, he did not show it to me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests. And the king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priests and slew on that day 75 persons that did wear a linen ephod. So the other guys wouldn't slay the priests. But this Doeg the Edomite would. And Nob, the city of priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, and both men and women and children and sucklings and oxes and asses and sheep with the edge of the sword. So he went and killed the whole city. What a wicked guy. And one of the sons of Amalek and the sons of Atab, named Athabathar, escaped and fled after David. Athabathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests. Whew. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the people of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not, for that he seeketh my life, and he seeketh thy life. But with me thou shalt be in safeguard. Then they told David, saying, Behold, the Philistines fight against Keilah, and they rob the threshing floors. Therefore David inquired of Jehovah, saying, Shall I go and smite the Philistines? And Jehovah said unto David, Go, smite the Philistines, and save Keilah. And David and his men unto him, Behold, we be afraid there in Judah. How much more if we come to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? Then David inquired of Jehovah again, and Jehovah answered him and said, Arise, go into Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into thy hand. So David and his men went to Keilah, and they fought with the Philistines and brought away their cattle and smote them with great slaughter. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. And it came to pass, when Alabathar, the son of Amalek, fled to David to Keilah, that he came down with the ephod in his hand. And it was told of Saul that David was come to Keilah. And Saul said, God hath delivered him into my hand, for he is shut up in by entering into a town that hath gates and bars. And Saul and all the people together to war, to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. And David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him. And he said to Alabathar the priest, and he said, Bring hither the ephod. And he said, David, O Jehovah, God of Israel, thy servant hath certainly heard that Saul seeketh to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Will the men of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Saul come down, as thy servant has heard? And Jehovah, God of Israel, I beseech thee, tell thee thy servant. And the Lord said, he will come down. Then David said, Will the men of Keilah deliver me into the hand of Saul? And the Lord said, They will deliver thee up. When he just went and saved all these people, and yet they'll deliver him up. And David said his men, which were about 600, arose and departed out of Keilah and went whithersoever they go. And it was told that Saul and David had escaped from Keilah, and he forbore to go forth. And David abode in the wilderness in the strongholds, and remained in the mountains and in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul sought him every day, but God delivered him not into his hand. And David saw that Saul was come out to seek his life, and David was in the wilderness of Ziph in the woods. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David into the woods, and strengthened his hand in God. And he said unto him, Fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall next unto thee, and that also Saul my father knoweth. And the two made a covenant before Jehovah. And David abode in the wood, and Jonathan went to his house. And they came up the Ziphonites to Saul and to Gibeah, saying, Doth David has hid himself with us in the strongholds in the wood, and in the hills of Heleth, which is on the south side of Jeshimon. Now, therefore, king, come down according to all the desire of thy soul. Come down on and our part to deliver him unto the king's hand. And Saul said, Blessed be ye of the Lord, for ye have compassion on me. Go now, I pray ye, and prepare yet. Know and see his place, where his haunt is, who hath seen him there. For it is told me that he dealeth very subtly. So he's on the sly. Hey, good morning. Tick knowing from out Omo Tazamon Ashton. Good morning. See therefore and take knowledge of all lurking places that he hideth himself, and come ye again to me, and certainly I will go with you. And it shall come to pass, if he be in the land, I will find and search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah. And they arose and went to Ziph before Saul and David and his men that were in the wilderness of Moab, in the plain on the south of Jeshimon. And Saul and also his men went to seek him. And they were told David, therefore he came down into a rock and abode in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness of Maon. And Saul went on his side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. And David made haste to get away for fear of Saul. For Saul and his men encompassed David and his men, and round about to take them. But there came a messenger unto Saul, saying, Haste thee, and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. Therefore Saul returned from pursuing after David, and went against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Selah Hamelkoth. And David went up from hence, and dwelt strong in the holds of En-gedi. So En-gedi would be just west of the southern part of the Salt Sea. Okay, and that's where he went. He went down to En-gedi. And it came to pass that when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. And Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of Israel, and went to seek David and all his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. And it came to the sheepcotes by the way, and there was a cave. And Saul went in and covered his feet, and David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And the men of David said unto him, Behold, the day of which Jehovah said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thy hand, and thou mayest go to him as it shall seem good unto thee. And then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privately. And it came to pass afterwards that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt. And he said unto his men, Jehovah forbid that I should do this thing to my master, that Jehovah's anointed to stretch forth my hand against him, seeing that he is anointed of Jehovah. So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to rise against Saul. But Saul rose up out of the cave and went his way, and David also rode after and went out of the cave. and cried after Saul, saying, My lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, Where hearest thou men's words, saying, Behold, David seeketh my hurt? And behold, this day thy eyes have seen how that Jehovah hath delivered thee unto my hand in this cave. And some bade me to kill thee, but my eyes spared thee. And I said, I will not put forth my hand against my Lord, for he is my Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand, for it I cut off thy skirt of thy robe, and I killed thee not. Know thou and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in my hand, for I have not sinned against thee, yet thou huntest my soul to take it. And Jehovah judge between me and thee, and Jehovah avenge me of thee, but thy hand shall not be upon thee. As saith the proverb of the ancient, wickedness proceeds from the mouth of the wicked, but my hand shall not be upon thee. For after whom is the king of Israel come out, and after whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog, after a flea? And Jehovah therefore be judge, and judge between me and thee, and see, and plead my cause, and delivered me out of thy hand. And it came to pass, when David made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, and Saul said, Is this thy voice of my son David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. And thou hast showed this day how thou hast dealt well with me. For as much as when the Lord hath delivered me into thy hand, thou hast killed me not. For if a man find his enemy and will let him go and deal well anyway, therefore Jehovah reward thee good for that thou hast done to me this day. And now behold, I know well that thou hast surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. Swear now, therefore, unto me, by Jehovah, that thou wilt not cut my seed off after me, and that thou wilt not destroy my name out of my father's house. And David swore unto Saul, and Saul went home, and David and his men got up into the hold, and Samuel died. And all the, so this is 25. So that was 1 Samuel. That was Psalm 59 and 1 Samuel 21 through 24. And you saw that David had to put his life in God's hands. And he put himself right before Saul. When Saul had rode all the way from Gibeah, where he was probably there at Gibeah, and then he rode, or Gilboa, all the way down to the Salt Sea, to En-Gedi, to kill him. Wow. To not just slay him. Not just slay the Lord's anointed. Wow. So, here you have the difference between Saul and David. It's a huge message in this book. The heart condition. The heart condition. Out of a poor and contrite spirit that trembleth at thy word. That's what he's looking for. Amen. Praise Yah. I love you guys.